Un peu.
Please be patient. I'm using a computer to help me communicate. I'm sorry about that because I have trouble with the Wi-Fi.
No worries. Wi-Fi's are always a headache.
Good morning. Andy, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm great and busy with school and farming.
Well, that will keep you busy. Hopefully, both are going well for you.
Yeah, I'm working hard to find my certificate for next semester in agriculture studies.
So that's great. That means you're getting close to hopefully being done.
Yeah, I'm ready. Getting down to business.
All right, let's get down to business. I'm ready too.
Good morning, Andrew. How are you today?
I'm doing good. It's kind of a quiet time here in Washington, D.C., as many folks in Congress and those running for reelection in Senate are back home campaigning. So we have a little bit of a lull till they return for the lame duck in November.
How about Farm Bill because it has been issued by SNAP?
Yeah, so we're gearing up for the Farm Bill reauthorization in 2023. The last time we got a farm bill done and signed into law was 2018, and it was a 5-year bill. And so we'll need the new Congress to take action by at least September of next year. And so we're definitely gearing up for that here at Farm Bureau. We've shared some of our initial priorities for the Farm Bill. We're encouraging all of our Farm Bureau members, our state and county Farm Bureaus, to engage with the candidates as they're back home campaigning on the importance of farm policy. And then as we kick off the new Congress, the 118th Congress in January, it'll become a very busy time as the House and Senate Agriculture Committees will start working towards getting the 2023 Farm Bill done, hopefully next year. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of challenges. You mentioned SNAP. As folks hopefully know, the Farm Bill is a very broad omnibus piece of legislation, typically about 12 titles. Ones that are critically important for farmers and ranchers are Title I with the commodity title that has many of our commodity programs, our risk management tools. You have the dairy program in that. You've also got reauthorization of crop insurance in Title 11. But one of the biggest spending pieces of the Farm Bill is Title IV, and that's nutrition. And, if you look at a lot of the political pundits, where the election might turn out, and some of the latest polling shows that Republicans will probably take the House, if not maybe the Senate. And we've seen fights in the Farm Bill in the past around nutrition spending. So that'll be something we have to watch very closely as we go through 2023.
How about dairy margin program for the dairy farmers in Wisconsin, Florida, New York State?
Yeah, so dairy is obviously one of the key components of the Farm Bill. It is part of Title I. And we've seen a lot of challenges in our dairy industry, particularly as we've gone through the pandemic. You've seen some challenges with Canada and USMCA on some of the trade there with dairy products. We've actually instituted a dairy working group for a second year in a row at American Farm Bureau. Actually just had a dairy conference a couple of weeks ago in Kansas City, where we're trying to bring the entire industry together, from dairy farmers to processor cooperatives and others in the value chain, to see where we can address some of these challenges. Part of it can be done outside of the Farm Bill or through federal milk marketing orders, and that's part of what our group is looking at. But then also there's the Farm Bill programs like DMC, dairy margin coverage. And I think we're looking at making some improvements to those programs as we go into the Farm Bill. You've seen some of the disparity between fluid milk producers, as you mentioned, in Florida, compared to maybe some other regions of the country. So trying to address those concerns and look at equity across the industry is going to be key as we head into the Farm Bill debate.
Tell me about USMCA for past years.
Yeah, so USMCA is kind of the updated North American Free Trade Agreement that was negotiated under the previous administration. It kind of sets up some of the trading rules between Canada, Mexico, and the United States. With any type of trade agreement, there's always challenges. But you look at some of our largest trading partners or our neighbors, which makes sense with Canada and Mexico. But we've seen some challenges for some segments of the agriculture industry within that agreement and just generally some trends. I'm originally from Florida. You've seen some concerns by some of our specialty crop producers with some of the practices coming out of Mexico, some concerns around dumping. And so you've had some senators like Marco Rubio. You've had House members from the Florida delegation, Al Lawson from North Florida, in a bipartisan way. Democrats and Republicans raised concerns on some of the practices out of Mexico and sent a letter to USTR, the U.S. Trade Representative. You've then seen some dairy challenges with Canada and how their program works compared to encouraging some free trade. So it's something that we've always worked towards. We want to make sure that we have opportunities to trade in these markets and that producers are treated fairly, and something that we continue to work upon. When you look generally just in trade, for American agriculture, it's so important. 96% or so of the world's populations are outside of our border, so we need to have access to markets. So improving and finding new trade agreements are always a priority.
Mexican farmers need some money for tomatoes.
Well, I think there's some Florida farmers and domestic producers that would agree that they need some money for some tomatoes as well. Again, you look at just what's happened with Hurricane Ian in Florida and some of the challenges on the specialty crop industry. I think some of the latest numbers out of the Department of Ag down there has almost $2 billion in agricultural damages, which is spread across, citrus, livestock, tomatoes, other segments of that industry. But you also look at, just some of our growing regions. There's even some divide within our country on the Mexico situation. You've seen some domestic producers expand into Mexico. And also there's just general concerns on overall free trade. Then we've had concerns with the Mexican government around GMOs and biotechnology, where they've got a pretty popular leader, and some of his viewpoints could create some challenges with trade with corn. So there's a lot of intertwined issues with Mexico, but definitely one that we continue to see a concern on specialty growers from the Southeast have continued to raise and push the administration to potentially take action, which so far have declined to do so.
Yeah, I agree, because Florida is overwhelming overpopulation.
I definitely agree with that. I'm a sixth generation Floridian, so my family goes back to the 1840s. I think the population of Florida has grown to almost 22 million people. I think about 1,000 people move there a day, and that's all happened in a fairly quick time frame on a peninsula that I think a lot of people associate with paradise, with beaches and Mickey Mouse. But I think a lot of folks lose sight of just how much agricultural production takes place. I think some of the largest ranches east of the Mississippi are in Florida. You've got Likes Brothers, you got Deseret Ranch. You still have a very healthy cow-calf industry in Florida. You've got a citrus industry that's been struggling with disease and disaster. And then you've got kind of the winter salad bowl that serves a lot of the eastern seaboard throughout this time of year and through the spring on what's being able to grow down there. You then got a lot of forestry. You got a lot of dairy, at least for a fluid market standpoint. Just a real diversity of agriculture. I think over 300 commodities that people don't recognize or realize. If you're solely going down on I-75 or I-95 or I-4, you get off some of those back roads, you get to see, really the diversity of agriculture in Florida.
Size of New York City.
A lot of people.
I went to Florida on September. Oh my gosh. It'd been a rough go for travel to I-75 to Tampa air-powered.
Yeah, that's grown a lot. A lot of people down there. But as bad as traffic is in Florida, I still don't think it compares to what we have here up in Washington, D.C. and around the Beltway. Lot of, we call it the mixing bowl. Lot of traffic.
How about cover crop with row crop?
Yeah, so a lot of focus as of late, both in public and private sector conversations around sustainability and climate. Talk about climate smart ag practices, things like cover crops, reduced tillage, a lot of things we've been doing in agriculture, but looking to expand, looking for new opportunities, and continue to look for ways we can improve our environmental footprint. And so cover crops is one of that. You saw during the pandemic, some of the assistance funding, there was some payments around cover crop assistance for certain parts of the country where you'd get a premium discount on crop insurance. That I think has been proven to be a pretty popular program. And it does it in a way that doesn't undermine the actuarially soundness of crop insurance, which is critical for that program to continue to be successful. But we've been working with a lot of different groups around town through a coalition called the Food and Agriculture Climate Alliance, which is really an unprecedented gathering of the food supply chain, commodity ag groups, and the environmental community to look at policy and climate and see that intersection and find out where we can agree. And so at the end of 2020, we put out about 40 different policy recommendations. We've seen some success with those. You've seen the recent announcement of USDA's Climate Smart Ag pilot projects. That was born out of the FACA group. And we're staying together to look at ideas as we have get ready for the Farm Bill to look at where we can continue to push and evolve in our climate smart practices, but also not undermine, the other conservation programs that are important for farmers and ranchers.
Cover crop is pretty popular with a couple years.
It is, especially where it makes sense, agronomic sense and economic sense. But cover crops don't necessarily work everywhere. I think where you're at in Illinois, they work pretty well. I think there's been some state programs, but I think if you get to some more arid regions, you have some challenges there on moisture in the soil, especially as we've seen drought. Although I think we recognize cover crops help in a lot of ways, but there's not always the ability to do that. Again, agronomically, sometimes it's economically challenging from either seed cost or equipment to resources, labor. If you're a one-man operation and you've had to grow your farm and you have the opportunity to harvest or plant cover crops, you have to make some tough decisions. So I think we're trying to look holistically at some of the challenges that are out there that where it makes sense, you can continue to expand, practices like cover crops.
Just tell me about yourself and your career in Africa.
Yeah, so I've been with Farm Bureau, I guess coming up on 17 years. I started with Florida Farm Bureau. Again, like I said, I was originally from Florida. We had some cattle and citrus as a kid. My uncle was a county extension agent, but I wasn't a typical farm kid. We ended up moving around with my dad's job. But I went to University of Florida, got a degree in tractor driving, or more specifically, ag operations management. I thought I was going to go into production ag, hopefully. But Farm Bureau was hiring, and it was in the same city, Gainesville, as the University of Florida. My girlfriend at the time had another semester. And so I was like, this is a pretty good deal. I can stay in town. And we've been married now almost 16 years. Did Florida Farm Bureau about 6 years, was a state lobbyist, and then American Farm Bureau was hiring. And so I've been in DC about 11 years, and I lobby on issues both before the House and Senate and the administration on energy, transportation, climate change, sustainability, biotechnology, and then I lead our farm bill team, our farm policy team. So I work with all of our state farm bureaus and our farmer leaders to try to implement our policy. Farm Bureau is a grassroots organization. We don't make policy in DC. We have a process that comes from our counties and states, from active farmers and ranchers, and creates a policy book that is debated at the county, state, and national level. We then vote on that every year at our convention in January. And then those are our marching orders as staff, being prioritized by our board of directors, which are made up of farmers of our state, typically state presidents, and prioritize those. And so as staff, we go to try to implement that policy for the betterment of farmers, ranchers, in our rural communities.
The Farm Bureau was an insurance company.
So many of our farm bureaus are associated with or have an insurance company that has mostly evolved as a member benefit. So over time, we've tried to provide different services and resources to our members. You have to be a Farm Bureau member in most cases to access that. Part of the story I was always told how we got into insurance in a lot of cases was, insurance rates would be higher in the cities as risks were higher, more people driving. Many of our members were rural and less risk, and so we could offer better rates. And so fortunately, because of good business practices and building that business over time, a lot of people do associate Farm Bureau with insurance. Again, we're separate. I work on the federation side, which is the ag policy side, the side representing farmers and ranchers before their local, state, and federal officials. But Farm Bureau Insurance is a partner and a member benefit that helps support what we're able to do.
Thanks for coming in. I will send your podcast. You could post on your social media sites.
Well, thanks for having me, and just don't ever hesitate if you need anything else, and good luck with all your podcasts.
You're welcome.
All right. Have a good one. We'll see you soon.
This is Cesar Delgado from Back Roads of Illinois podcast on YouTube with Andrew W. Please subscribe it